Hey guys, it's me, Jack24 here. Today you're probably wondering, Minnie, how did you finally manage to get the videos to be working? Turns out there was a little bit more of a complication that I failed to try predicting, and that was technically a simple thing in operation, but apparently my computer never told me I needed to update it. Such a surprise, I know. And the worst part about that was that because it didn't tell me I needed to update it, it's been acting weird for like the past few days. So yeah, anyways, now time to do what I was planning to do on Monday, but I couldn't because this wasn't working. Anyways, with that intro out of the way, I'm going to be reacting to the analog horror series of the Muldoon logs by the channel of Aliota, who recently, I'll admit, I have been watching this spot for a little while, off camera. I've obviously been binging some of the Jurassic Park franchise stuff. Granted, more the fan projects, because recently I've been introduced into some part of the analog horror genre. Not a lot, but it's mainly by one of the YouTubers I've been watching more recently, so this kind of caught my interest, and plus, since I wanted a series to react to that would be a bit different than just, trailers and stuff, one that I find a bit interesting, since, I actually have a genuine interest into this, and plus, I get to use my paleontological knowledge. Granted, I don't have a degree in paleontology, nor do I have that, but I've been studying dinosaurs for about up until actually quite recently. Throughout all my life, I've always been studying dinosaurs. Well, except for when I was a baby, but that's for obvious reasons. Anyways, just give me a sec. Sorry, I brushed my teeth before this, and you ever get that weird feeling of little bit of aftertaste of toothpaste in your mouth after you've done brushing and sworn you've already washed out your mouth? Yeah, that's practically what just happened to me. So let me just plug that in, and now, anyways, let's begin. Alright, so first of all of the copyright for this belongs to Aliota, who I would highly recommend to go and check out the channel and check out the original video, because honestly, I'm going to say this series has been some of the best stuff in the Jurassic Park franchise that's been released since the original 2 movies. Granted, I would say I know this isn't official Jurassic Park franchise stuff, but I have to say this is quite a lot better than a lot of the other Jurassic stuff that's been going around for actual footage. But anyways, without further ado, all the copyright once again belongs to Aliota, and Universal and Emblem Films belongs to overall media subject copyright. So if I get copyright claimed for this, I'm going to be very pissed, because first of all, I'm reacting to something that's not even official by Universal. So if I get copyright claimed by, Aliota, guess what? I'm fine with that. That makes sense. Not going to place up a fuss. Anyways, I've done enough. Let's begin with the Muldoon logs number 1, which I might just call it a Raptor pen. Ooh, wait, hold on. The following footage was captured on Eastwood Newbar in September 1991 for training purposes only. Alright. Oh, yeah, alright. Engine Training Division Behavioral Observation Log, Subject Ross Raptor v. Antrophus by Robert Muldoon. For those that don't know, the the species of velociraptor shown in both Jurassic Park and the Jurassic franchise, even in novels and in the films, is V. Anthrotrophus, which is a false name that's been given to them by paleo artists in the late 80s, and this apparently inspired Michael Crichton to rewrite the name of Deinonychus into Velociraptor, which, don't get me wrong, Deinonychus is still a decently sized dromaeosaur, but once again, they were nowhere near as big as they were in the movie. Like, at most, I would say they were around 4 feet big. But granted, in the movie, Spielberg also had some knowledge about Utah Raptor, so that kind of also inspired some part of the design. Granted, they didn't fully, understand completely how big Utah Raptor would be, so... And it can't be a Kill-Baiter, because a Kill-Baiter was discovered way after Jurassic Park was released as film. And I know for this universe, it's a mixture of the novel and movies, which is something that I actually quite like. Anyways, sorry, I've been chatting about this for a while, but my paleo nerd self won't stop me from trying to correct this. So keep in mind, whenever they're talking about Velociraptor, they do not mean Mongoliensis or the other species from Mongolia. I forget what the other species of Velociraptor is called off the top of my head, but I know that this one is actually supposed to just be Deinonychus. Anyways, let's continue.
Robert Muldoon, Game Warden, Isla Nublar. Feeding procedure for Velociraptor anteropis. The date is September 1st, 91. I'm standing here at the raptor enclosure prior to the evening feeding cycle. I will now document the feeding process, which I think is not as efficient as I would like. There are still many things that need smoothing out, but I want to keep it professional and objective in this log. Here, at the entry gates, we have a staggered system whereby doors can only be opened once further doors have been locked, similar to the double doors of a walk-through aviary in any zoo.
I have to say, this is more similar to the novel's Raptor paddock, to say the very least, because the novel actually had an open field paddock with, actually electrified fences and stuff. Granted, no real too much surprise. Somehow, dinos figured out a way on how to escape because, computers be bugging, especially in the late 80s, early 90s.
Where visitors close one door before opening the other to prevent birds from escaping. The birds in here, however, won't just escape, they'll gut you to death.
I mean, that's not inaccurate, but at the same time, I hate to be the nerd, but yeah, my calling in life for a long time was paleontology, so I can't let this slide. But although technically, the species of dromaeosaurs are closely related to the branch that would become the avian dinosaurs, which are birds, dromaeosaurs themselves are not technically birds, but are very closely related. So technically you can call them birds, but it won't be accurate at all, but it's a pretty good description to help keep in mind with stuff, since I will admit, for the original Jurassic Park, for both the novel and for the film, it was a way of helping establish this new kind of motion of dinosaurs being these fast, active reptiles that were, warm-blooded creatures that weren't, sluggish old tripod kangaroo posed creatures, and honestly, I respect that. However, Jurassic Park was accurate for its time, but however, science has progressed a lot since then. So some of the stuff that was known during the novel's time making and the film's time making, which, by the way, the film originally planned to fix the Deinonychus name, but then for some reason they changed it back during some point during production. I'm not sure when or where it was changed, but pretty much it was a pretty fun little thing to kind of see, but it's also fun to see how this kind of reacts.
But like I said, the system needs refining. As it stands currently, only selected carnivore handlers and myself are permitted to feed the raptors. Let me show you how that's done. The authorized handler will use his swipe card to enter the buffer enclosure with a live animal, usually a cow. We've tried feeding the raptors beef, lamb, chicken, pig, you name it, but they won't touch the stuff. They need living prey because they want to hunt. They want to coordinate and take down a live animal. So we've resorted to bringing in a cow or a goat once every 3 days or so.
I mean, overall, I would have to say, like, if it was a goat they kept bringing in every day, I'd say all of the raptors would be pretty hungry, but considering this takes part of both novel universe and movie universe, you'll see what I mean in a moment. But anyways, sorry for nerding out, guys. This is my channel and my reaction. I get to nerd out to which stuff I want to, but I also like doing this for the love of the game.
Handler will lead the cow into this enclosure. This buffer enclosure is double fenced with a steel barricade internally and then a 10,000-volt electric fence externally, mounted on concrete slabs which extend 10 feet underground to prevent the raptors digging.
I have to say that's a pretty good precaution, but as we all know, especially if you're watching this video, it's obvious that you're not a first-timer to this series, or if you are, you may not know, so I'll leave the surprise. But then again, this is the Jurassic Park franchise. There's not going to be a lot of surprises, I guess.
The enclosure, as you can see, is fortified on both sides and from above to prevent the raptors leaping, because they're astonishing jumpers, easily clearing 10 feet plus. Now, this is the actual feeding enclosure. And again, the handler uses his swipe card at the scanner to open the gate, like so. This pen opens up to the Velociraptor exhibit that visitors will see on the tour once the park is up and running. So that means where I am standing now is the rear of the Raptor exhibit, out of sight from the Explorer Tour track. I personally don't think any child visiting this park should see a 6-foot reptile eviscerating a poor cow, and that's why we feed them away from public eyes.
I mean, technically, yeah, I'll let that slide, but Deinonychus was more 4-foot. But I will give the movie and novels variant a bit the benefit of doubt and give it maybe 5-foot at most, just because it is supposed to represent a genetically modified creature and not supposed to be 100% accurate, despite parts of the book claiming that there are some animals where it's nearly 100% complete. But I'll throw some speculation into that because I can. But no, I agree with Robert for keeping children away from seeing death and on a friendly tour, because would it be fun for the adults to see? Yes. But for the kids, no.
Once the cow is brought into this pen, the handlers exit, locking this gate, and then proceed out the buffer enclosure. It is only once both gates have been closed and the handler is safely behind 2 locked gates that the raptors are permitted to enter this enclosure and feed. This fence, as well as the electric fence beyond, slide open, and the raptors enter where I am currently standing. For obvious reasons, I will not open this gate. But
I mean, I don't think you had to tell us that, but glad you had to clarify that you're not going to.
that is essentially the gist of how we currently feed the raptors here, while the construction of the raptor pen a little further away reaches completion, and we transport the pack there.
This may
What was...
be the last ad you ever...
No, I'm sorry. I do not like ad blockers, because YouTube would then start glitching out for me. Because YouTube hates ad blockers. And oh boy, I'm already not on YouTube's good side.
Now, if we look out into the raptor enclosure, there are 5 female animals in here. We bred 8 originally, and then 2 more were cloned on Sauna, but 1 did not survive transport to the park, leaving 1 big one to join the pack in here. When she came in, she took over the pride, killing half the original brood. Just 4 days ago, the big one killed a smaller raptor, so I'm always watching her.
I mean, this kind of lines up more so with the movie version, because in the novel there's a lot of raptors on the island in the novel. It's not just 3 that they have in the pen, it's like about 8 originally, I believe, or could be a little bit more since I'm trying to remember all the novel stuff off the top of my head, and that's a bit foggy, but I know there were a lot more raptors than initially counted for because computer system error.
I don't believe we'll spot any of them right now, and that's probably because they are nocturnal animals, as are a lot of predators today. I've heard many...
Let me go back for a sec. Sorry.
Right now, and that's probably because they are nocturnal animals, as are a lot of predators today. I've had many discussions with John about feed timing and...
So about there. This will actually come into play later, so I don't think that Robert knows what exactly that sound is. Well, partially because, at this rate, not going to spoil the surprise, but I'd also say Jurassic Park's Dilophosaurus is pretty inaccurate in, well, the most obvious part being the thrill and the venom. But, so, yeah. They don't know about the venom yet, but I have a theory on what this particular Dilo sound is referring to.
Whatnot, and possibly switching to nocturnal feeding, as daytime may cause stress and agitated behaviors. The last thing we want is an agitated velociraptor, believe me.
Oh.
And on that note, is it
wherever my thing is here. Can't tell if that's just... Oh yeah, that's a raptor.
Agitated velociraptor, believe me. And on that note, that completes this log of the feeding procedures. What the? Is that another? Shit.
Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable.
So as I documented earlier this afternoon, another raptor was killed. She was removed from the enclosure by a chopper, which was a disaster. She sustained a massive laceration to her underside and bled out. My guess is the big one took her out, but the enclosure cameras didn't catch it. There's only so many cameras you can place across an enclosure the size of several football fields covered in dense vegetation.
Let me see.
The surveillance footage from last night, after the dead raptor was removed, only raised more questions. I noticed the remaining 3
Yeah.
females being very busy, but I couldn't spot the big one.
Yeah, so that would be, I forget their names. I believe Randy and Kim. I know those were the animators for the Ross Raptors and for in the kitchen scene, but I know one of them in the kitchen scene is the big one, and that's the one that gets the head smashed into that.
Anyway, another one down. 4 remaining raptors. I'll document the raptor pack dynamics tonight.
Alright, so that
They're
would be
bound to
2.
change after another member dies.
That could potentially be the big one there, because overall in the original, in the Jurassic Park film, there's not much variation between the 3 Raptor models they used. The big one looked practically the same size.
They go at the fence every night, never attacking the same place twice. They test the fences for weaknesses systematically. They learn and they remember.
Ah, why do I have to watch ads while I'm trying to be reacting to something here? Anyone else hate these ads? Granted, Allie, I'm glad you're getting paid for the ads, but oh boy, YouTube's being annoying with them. Alright, so that's 1, 2.
That big one is a real problem. She's costing Hammond hundreds of thousands. When she was introduced, the dynamics of the pack changed significantly. Dominant from the start and absolutely lethal to any raptor that did not fall in line. She shows extreme intelligence, even problem-solving intelligence. That one, when she looks at you, you can see she's working things out. She doesn't test the fences anymore. She watches the others do it for her. They obey her completely. She directs them. I've seen that look before in lions and wolves, but not in reptiles. It's not instinct. It's something else.
Don't get too close. We're gonna be jump scared.
She's making plans at the moment,
Daddy?
and the other raptors are awaiting instructions. This is the big one in the back. And now that they know there's something in the feeding enclosure, we might get to see what I came here for. Their communication is far more advanced than reptiles of today. There's verbal cues and sounds, but there's also eye movement and tail twitches. One thing about the big one is she's fairly stoic in her communication style. She's aggressive when she wants to be, but is not as animated as the others. She'll stand still and stare directly into your eyes for hours. The others I describe as more bird-like in their behavior with erratic movements. Oh, here we go. She's chosen one of them, and they're off. These two are a few years older, and they seem to be the most loyal to the big one. They seem to be quite obedient to her. But where did she go? See, that's what she does. She gives out orders and then sits back and watches.
Which I have to say, I'm, as much as I've seen the series before specifically Aliwata's series, I have to say, this is all beautifully animated, and plus it actually feels a bit cohesive in a sense. sense where you could actually see this taking place on like in the film universe. Granted, I know for a few reasons this doesn't take place in the film universe for a few reasons, but
And these two clowns do her bidding.
Ooh.
Good God. Oh, shit. I've never seen one of them in contact with the fence for such a long time. Jesus Christ, I think she fried herself.
Yeah, I think so too, because the one thing about Jurassic Park raptors that I feel like is good for this scenario is that when they're at least attacking the fence, they're pronated to rest, are fate. Since their hands are supposed to be, inwards like they're clapping, and because one of their arm bones is actually physically longer, so they couldn't, rotate their wrists downwards unless they wanted to break their hands downwards. But I feel like it kind of falls around the same logic of how electricity, even in human muscles, like for example, if you get shocked while holding on to something electric, your muscles are automatically going to respond by tensing up and hold on to it, despite your efforts to get off, because the electric stimulus has already, caused it to happen.
You were here to distract me. Clever girl. The following morning, the big one and her two remaining minions were tranquilized so that our vets could enter the enclosure and inspect the raptor's injuries.
You know what? I hate to say this, but do a double shot of the trank. Who am I to question the beliefs of one pretty good game warden, but I'm just saying, do a double shot just in case. Because oftentimes in real life, unfortunately, when tranks are ever used, it's either accidentally underdosed, which could be problematic.
She sustained third-degree burns to all four limbs and lacerations to her mouth before being hurled some 40 feet away from the electric fence. She smelled of charred meat.
Ew.
Consequently, she died. This raptor in particular was far younger than the others. My guess is...
Ew. I have to give credit for this model. It looks pretty burnt up for it. Oh, wait, hold on. Did it bite down on the... Oh yeah, it did bite down on the wire. No wonder this part is scarred.
The big one picked on her specifically to test another region of the electric fence. This one mustn't have had the experience that the other raptors had and couldn't manage to execute the task without frying herself in the process. I would almost feel sympathy for her if I didn't have an obsessive need to have them all destroyed before one of them eventually figures out how to escape their enclosure. The sedated raptors were moved from this enclosure to a far more reinforced pen. Unfortunately, that wasn't without another casualty.
Alright, guys. I have to say, that was an amazing video. And once again, please go subscribe to Aliada's channel and please go check him out. So that way we can keep getting more and more videos from him like this. Because the Muldoon series is personally one of my favorite personal little hobbies that I'm always excited to go and watch whenever a new one's about to drop. I always go and rewatch the series, go down, and, watch, and I get excited because I get to talk to one of my friends up here about it. By up here, I mean at college, but hey, guess what? It's at least something for me to do with a friend. We get to discuss about it. Anyways, besides that, I will safely say that, once again, a link to the original videos in the description. Please go check out Aliana, as all the copyright belongs to him. Him and Universal and Amblin gets the rights for the overall material. But anyways, I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.